Hello, this is Daniel Windham, and I'm proud to present to you Group 4's needs assessment of a high school library. Group 4 consisted of Brandon Luter, Daniel Windham, myself, Jeffrey Brubaker, and Samantha Smith. It is for 650 library administration with Dr. Chow. So what good does a needs assessment do for a library? Well, if we follow the work of Jeanette Woodward, she does a pretty good explanation explaining why a needs assessment is important for a public high school library or any library in existence. And basically, to simplify what Jeanette has said from her monumental book, The Customer Service Driven Library, is that you need to have a clear understanding of what your customers want and how to go about getting what your customers want. And so a needs assessment, by surveying your customers and figuring out what they like about the library and what they would like to see get improved upon, will give you a pretty clear indication of how the library should move in the long term. Here's an overview, and it's just a elaboration of what our overall PowerPoint presentation is going to cover, and it's based on what our paper covered. We have the introduction and executive summary. That basically just tells you about the library itself and gives a very brief overview of how we went about our interview and the results that were derived from it. We look at the actual methods, where we're going to take an in-depth look at the questions we asked, and results, which takes an in-depth look of the results from the questions, seeing like things we could have added in and things we could have left out. We have conclusions and recommendations, which is where we kind of point out ideas that the library itself could use to actually improve its overall customer service and in delivering in what their patrons want, in this case mostly high school students and of course the high school teachers. We look at strengths and weaknesses of our actual research and what could have gone better, what we could have done to improve. And then we have appendixes and graphical information. So what is a needs assessment? And basically a needs assessment is a research method where a group of researchers use analytical thinking methods to figure out exactly what your customers want and how to go about getting it in the best way possible. In addition, a needs assessment will also look at employees and figure out what they need to do the best job possible. So it's built to answer this question: what resources are available and what resources are needed to increase customer satisfaction? So, in order to find out exactly what our patrons needed and what the employees needed at this certain high school library, we asked paper-based questions. And the reason we did this is because communication technology is actually lacking at this library for both teachers and students. And then we did 2 direct interviews with the media specialists, also known as librarians, in order to find out what they needed in order to do their job completely. So our report work stretched to a total of 30 volunteer participants, including 20 students, 8 teachers, and 2 librarians. Our questions for the surveys were structured to understand how often teachers and students use LibraryX and what resources they would like to see more of coming from the library. And after all the research was done, basically we found that our overall results called for an increased demand in technology, both from the student perspective, the teacher perspective, and the media specialist perspective. LibraryX is a long-standing school library, the first school library in North Carolina. It is now over 70 years old and has a reasonably large library media center. It has a small labor force of 9 employees, 2 librarians, 1 intern, 4 student aides, and 2 volunteers. It serves 1,700 students while circulating some 18,000 books each school year. In addition, the library has a total of 83 computers that host EBSCO, InfoTrack, and Gale. 55 computers are part of the computer lab. The library also hosts clubs outside of normal educational hours, including the Multicultural Club, the Anime Club, book clubs, and Zumba class.
Hi, this is Brandon Luter, and I'm going to talk to you about the methods and results from our needs assessment. First off, the methods. Our group used 3 information gathering methods. The first method we used was a set of teacher surveys. We gathered a total of 8 of these. Second strategy that we used were student surveys. We collected 20 of these. And finally, we conducted 2 interviews with the 2 media specialists of the library that we were studying. On the next 6 slides, I'll talk about our results from our needs assessment surveys and interviews. First of all, from the student surveys, we found that only 65% of students use the library on a rare basis. 25% of the students interviewed use the library 1 to 3 times a week, and only 10% of the students use the library every day. Here we'll talk about results from the student surveys that show some of the services that the students use the most frequently and least frequently at the library. You'll see from the graph that when students are using the library, it's primarily to study, check out books, do research, and complete group work. Here we see results from the student surveys that show how much they actually use the library with their classes. Unfortunately, we found that teachers don't use the library very often. 50% of the teachers surveyed use it once a month, 37% use it once a semester, and 13% of the teachers never use the library or take their classes to the library. On the other hand, when we asked teachers whether or not they created assignments that require the library, the results were a little better. No teacher said that they never create assignments that require the library. 3 teachers that were surveyed out of the 8 said that they rarely create assignments for the library, and 5 teachers said that they sometimes create assignments for the library. Here we see survey results that show some services that the library can improve upon to reach its ideal state. Teachers, they would like to see more films provided by the library, more databases for research, as well as more computers. Students overwhelmingly responded that they would like to see more computers at 31%. In my final portion for this presentation, I will discuss the validity, reliability, and power of our surveys and interviews. First of all, the survey questions, I feel, could have been stronger if they were written a little bit better. After actually conducting the surveys and going through the process of writing the paper, I feel like we could have asked questions that were a little more quantitative, and I just feel that some of the questions were worded kind of funny and confusing. So that could have been improved upon, but with that being said, I still think that our results are pretty powerful. They give a general idea of what the library needs to improve on. As far as the interviews go, I feel that they provide very solid information. As I said earlier, the interviews were conducted separately, so we know that the information the media specialists provided is true, so they weren't just agreeing with each other for the sake of agreeing with each other. Both of the media specialists pretty much said the same thing, that they would really like to see more money for technology and technological teaching tools.